Good evening. Welcome to the news segment of Dateline. My name is Princess Modi. The Nigerian government recently launched the Outsource to Nigeria Initiative, OTNI, to tap into the global outsourcing market, which generated about $350 billion in revenue in 2023 from the top 7 participating countries, offering significant employment opportunities for the growing youth, POP Federal. Vice President Shettima recently highlighted Nigeria's potential to revolutionize its economy through the outsourcing sector, given the rich talent pool, competitive cost structure, improving ICT infrastructure, and strategic geographic location. The report indicates that the Global Business Process Outsourcing, BPO, and Information Technology enabled services, ITES, market valued at $8.79 trillion in 2024 is predominantly led by India and the Philippines, which together hold about 62000 is the market share. A business consultant in the health and social care sector in the United Kingdom and founder of the Good Practice Company, TGPC, says Nigeria can position itself for these opportunities. She said that the country has a high potential among African countries, having the fastest growth in the African BPO industry, with various favorable factors and demographics suited to capitalize on the current trends in global business. The United Kingdom has one of the biggest and most renowned healthcare sectors in the world, an unstoppable surge in demand for healthcare workers, many startups with 3,400 new business registrations in 2023, and one of the best business survival rates in the world, according to Forbes Advisor. The Coordinating Minister of Health and Social Welfare, Professor Ali Pate, has acknowledged the global issue of rising pharmaceutical costs. He reaffirmed the government's commitment to addressing the crisis through the presidential initiative to unlock the pharmaceutical value chain. Professor Pate identified forex devaluation and healthcare financing challenges as underlying factors contributing to the crisis, impacting affordability and access to essential medical care. In response, the National Agency for Food and Drug Administration and Control, NAFDAC, and the Ministry of Health had announced collaborative efforts to alleviate the financial burden on citizens. NAFDAC's Director General, Professor Mojisola Adeyeye, highlighted the agency's partnership with the pharmaceutical industry to reduce drug prices and revitalize the local pharmaceutical sector. Initiatives such as the 5+5 regulatory scheme and the NAFDAC Ceiling 34 policy aim to encourage local manufacturing and restrict importation, resulting in more accessible and affordable drugs. Efforts are also underway to produce active pharmaceutical ingredients, APIs, domestically and strengthen regulatory frameworks and intellectual capabilities. Professor Adeyeye assured continuous regulatory vigilance and the adoption of traceability technology to monitor the supply chain effectively, addressing concerns of substandard and falsified medicines due to high prices. Both Professor Adeyeye and Professor Pate assured Nigerians of concerted efforts to mitigate the challenge posed by high medicine costs, emphasizing the government's commitment to industrialization and sustainable solutions for the nation's healthcare system. The Federal Competition and Consumer Protection Commission, FCCPC, has said it will begin the process of blocking loan apps that harass their customers. Acting chairman of the commission, Mr. Adamu Abdullahi, who made this known in an interview yesterday, said the agency had begun to address the issue of loan apps harassing and embarrassing defaulting customers. He stressed that such harassment had caused many problems in Nigeria, as some people had even lost their jobs because of the embarrassment and disgrace. Mr. Abdullahi said that FCCPC had involved the Central Bank of Nigeria, CBN, the National Information Technology Development Agency, NITDA, the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, EFCC, and the Human Rights Commission, HRC, to to form a committee to address the issue, adding that when the commission discovered that the loan sharks operated online and had no physical offices or managing directors, it approached Google and Apple Store to take down all their apps, even as it also coordinated with the CBN to block all their accounts. The FCCPC boss stated that after blocking the accounts, the agency approached the apps and gave them forms to fill, containing all necessary details, including their addresses and managing directors, before giving them the new regulations on how they should operate. He said the loan app operators had been issued warnings and they had agreed in writing that they would no longer have access to people's contacts and photos, adding that if the agency heard of any such harassment again, it will immediately move to block the erring apps. The Senate has assured Nigerians that the 16-year age recruitment for applicants seeking admission into tertiary institutions in the country has not been changed. The upper chamber said comments about increasing the age limit to 18 years were personal opinions, explaining that any downward or upward review of the age limit could only be done by legislation that followed due process. The chairman of the Senate Committee on Media and Public Affairs, Senator Yemi Adaramodu, disclosed the Senate stand while speaking with newsmen on the issue at the weekend in Abuja. Minister of Education, Professor Tahiru Mamman, had last week expressed strong reservations with the policy allowing 16-year-old candidates to gain admission into universities in the country. He hinted that the federal government might up the minimum entry age into tertiary institutions in the country to 18 years. Professor Mamman, who was monitoring the Unified Tertiary Matriculations Examinations, UTME, in Abuja, warned parents against pushing their children and wards too much, advising them to allow the children reach some level of maturity so as to be able to better manage their affairs. Members of the Senate Committee on Tertiary Institutions and Tertiary Education Trust Fund, TETF, have also declared their support for the move by the federal government to peg the minimum entry age into tertiary institutions in the country at 18 years. The Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, EFCC, has disassociated itself from a circulating report in the media alleging the release of a list of 58 ex-governors under investigation for corruption to the tune of 2.18 trillion naira. In a press statement today, the EFCC clarified that it has not issued such list nor discussed the investigation of the former governors with any media outlet. According to the statement signed by EFCC spokesperson Mr. Dele Oyewole, in the report titled, EFCC releases full list of 58 ex-governors that embezzled 2.18 trillion naira, was a phantom report deemed false and mischievous. The Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, EFCC, feels obliged to dissociate itself from a phantom report circulating in sections of the media, claiming it has released a full list of ex-governors being investigated for alleged corruption. The report headlined, EFCC releases full list of 58 ex-governors that embezzled 2.187 trillion naira. In one of the news outlets is false and mischievous, as the Commission neither issued the said list nor entertained discussions on the investigation of ex-governors with any news medium. The National Examinations Council, NECO, has said it has now digitized the recruitment process for examination supervisors and assistant supervisors for the Basic Education Certificate Examinations, BECE, and the Senior School Certificate Examinations, SSCE, internal and external. Acting Director, Information and Digital Communication in NECO, Mr. Aziz Sani, in a statement today, said the move was to check sharp practices in the recruitment process and to enhance efficiency and effective service delivery. The statement explained that the process involved migration from the manual recruitment of supervisors and assistant supervisors to the online platform, adding that it would ensure that supervisors' nomination forms, appointment letters, and supervisors' e-photo albums were generated online, just as routine swapping of supervisors and assistant supervisors during the examination would also be done online. The statement added that interested qualified teachers with the National Certificate of Education, NCE, degree certificates, master's degrees, doctorates, and professorships were eligible to apply as supervisors and assistant supervisors for the BECE or the SSCE, internal or external. Before the present move to the digital platform, recruitment of supervisors and assistant supervisors was done manually by the council. Governor Sharif Oborevwori has charged the church to remain one focused and united family in interceding for Nigerians so that God can spare the country the agonies occasioned by the prevailing economic downturn. Governor Oborevwori gave the charge today at a Thanksgiving service held at the St. Andrew's Anglican Church, Okpanam, to run off the third session of the 16th Synod of the Diocese of Asaba in the Anglican Communion. The report is presented.
The governor, who was represented by his chief of staff, Honorable Johnson Erijo, said the Synod could not have come at a better time than now, when the country was grappling with the challenges of development, pressure of economic difficulties, and financial constraints. He urged Christians to avoid divisions among them and work hard to be true believers of Christ and his teachings, while appreciating them for their prayers for his administration, which he said had made it possible for it to record some successes. Honorable Oborevwori said his administration was working hard to reposition the state and needed the individual and collective contributions of Deltans to achieve that, stressing that the people must avoid the path of disunity, pettiness, blackmail, character assassination, and anything capable of impoverishing another person.
As Christians, let us avoid the path of disunity, pettiness, blackmail, character assassination, and anything that tends to improvise the other person. Let us strive to build a fulfilled, peaceful, virile, prosperous, and united state that will make us all proud.
The Bishop of the Asaba Diocese of the Anglican Communion, the Right Reverend Kingsley Obo, in an address presented by the Public Relations Officer of the Diocese, Reverend Leslie Oboe, said the Synod, with the theme, One Body, Many Parts, thanked Governor Oborevwori for his support for the diocese and solicited more interventions in critical areas of need.
Your quick response to our request is a testimony that you are indeed a man of your words. We sincerely appreciate Your Excellency for this kind gesture, which shows that the state government, under your leadership, has continued to exhibit unwavering commitment to deliver on your more agenda. We pray that God will keep you strong as you continue to steer the state in the right direction in Jesus' name.
Earlier in a sermon, the guest preacher and Bishop of the Ndokwa Diocese, Right Reverend Uzo Nwafili, emphasized that as the parts of the body needed to function optimally for one to stay strong and alive, so must members of the church play their roles to keep the work of God going.
Christians have been admonished to show love to one another and reflect it in the society as God showed love to man by sending his Son, Jesus Christ, to die for man's sins. The parish priest of the Saints Joachim and Anne Catholic Church, Asaba, Reverend Father Christopher Ba, gave the admonition at today's service of the church. Gift Unosha reports.
Reverend Father Oba in his sermon said love was patience, kindness, and above all was the greatest virtue. He noted that true love was sacrificial and had abode in Christ, and should be practiced among believers as cited in the book of Jeremiah 31 verse 3. The cleric enjoined Christians to love one another without expectations and reciprocation, as that was the kind of unconditional and everlasting love Christ had for mankind.
Our Lord asks us to abide in that love, His love, not by lip service, because some of us can tell our fellow human beings, I love you, but that I love you ends with our mouth, have it? It doesn't get to the heart. and every action and our expressions contradict our confession. When our life is not in tandem with what we confess, then that love is superficial and that love is fake and cannot last. If you love and you are not willing to make sacrifice for the beloved, then that love is incomplete.
The service featured choral renditions and special thanksgiving. Gift Unosha reporting.
The Transmission Company of Nigeria, TCN, has announced that parts of Delta and Edo states will experience outage for 13 days owing to the commencement of erection of 2 towers. It also said the outage, which began yesterday, will be due to the restraining of the Benin Delta and Delta Ogara 132 kV double-circuit transmission lines. The TCN, in a statement, said the Amukwe substation would also be out for the duration of the work, adding that bulk power supply to Benin, the Benin Distribution Company's DISCO, through the Adeje, Industrial Woodland, Mosuga, Sapele, and Abraka feeders will be out of bulk power supply for the period. The statement stressed that the outage was necessary to create a safe working environment for the contractor. The TCN apologized for any inconveniences electricity consumers supplied from the substation would experience within the period, noting that the project would help ensure a more flexible and consistent bulk power supply through the Amukwe transmission substation. The Commissioner in the Directorate of Culture and Tourism, Dr. Darlington Ije, will tomorrow hold a meeting with stakeholders in the hospitality sector, especially operators of hotels, bars, fast food, restaurant and lounge in Delta South and Delta Central Senatorial District of the state. A statement signed by the Director, Public Communications, Mrs. Theresa Oliko, says the meeting will discuss the critical area of support needed by the tourism and hospitality industry operators as a prerequisite for meaningful government intervention and identify ways to improve local patronage, promote national recognition, facilitate domestic tourism, and attract the vibrant and lucrative diaspora market in line with the more agenda of the state government. The statement adds that consultants who are responsible for the collection of consumption tasks in Delta South and Central Senatorial Districts will be formally introduced to the stakeholders at the meeting. The venue of the meeting is the Governor's Office Annex on the NPA Expressway, Warri, and it will commence at 10 a.m. According to the statement, the meeting is mandatory while the defaulters will be sanctioned. Federal Airports Authority of Nigeria, FAN, and the Office of the National Security Advisor, NSA, have agreed to reduce the number of military and paramilitary personnel at the country's international airports who inspect passengers' belongings. The Managing Director of FAN, Mrs. Olubumi Kuku, stated this during the weekend while speaking with journalists. Mrs. Kuku said it was worrisome and has become necessary for the plan, stressing that both agencies have agreed to carry out short and long-term measures to address multiple checks by security operatives. According to her, plans were also in progress to ensure security personnel use the closed-circuit television, otherwise known as video surveillance, in various coordination rooms across the country's international airports to monitor passengers' luggage. On the issue of carrying baggage, she noted it bothers her so much that it was the first thing to be executed on assumption of office. She added that as far back as 2011 and 2012, when she was in the industry, it was something she worked on with the former minister, explaining that it goes beyond FAN because a lot of the agencies, including Nigeria Customs, National Drug Law Enforcement, short terms NDLEA, Nigeria Agricultural Quarantine Service, NAQS, and the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, EFCC, have almost everybody at the airports. NANS. Following last-minute engagements by the government, the National Association of Nigerian Students, NANS, has called off its planned nationwide protest, earlier scheduled to commence tomorrow. NANS has, in the wake of the yet-to-be-resolved fuel crisis and epileptic electricity supply called for the sack of the Nigerian National Petroleum Corporation Limited, NNPCL, and the Ministry of Power. The students' body, in a statement today, said the government had initiated dialogue and had provided assurances that measures will be taken to end the fuel scarcity crisis, while also promising improvement in electricity supply before the end of next week. The statement said, while NANS remained vigilant in its pursuit of accountability and good governance, it believed that engaging in dialogue presented an opportunity to address its concerns through constructive means. It stressed that, as student leaders, their agitations were not fueled by personal animosity towards the NNPCL Group Managing Director and the Minister of Power, but by its responsibility as a pressure group to hold them accountable for their actions. NANS said its decision to suspend mobilization towards a national protest till further notice came as a result of its collective recognition that lasting solutions often emerge from constructive dialogue and negotiations. It assured Nigerian students that it would provide further updates on the progress and outcomes of its dialogue with the government. The former Attorney General of the Federation and Minister of Justice, Mr. Michael Andoaka, has advised the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, EFCC, to follow due process in its handling of the investigation of former Kogi State Governor, Mr. Yahaya Bello. Mr. Andoaka stated this while speaking with journalists while giving a background into the ongoing controversy. He noted that the EFCC had made an error by including Mr. Bello in a charge relating to events predating his tenure as governor, and it was based on this and other antecedents that Mr. Bello approached the court to enforce his fundamental human rights. The former minister said that there was an error in the charge by the EFCC, as he was being roped because he was governor, but not in 2015, the commission mentioned, noting that in 2015, Mr. Bello was not governor. He became a governor in 2016. He said the controversy around the whole issue was unnecessary and advised the EFCC to follow the rule of law. According to the Benue-born former AGF, once charges are in court, the agency is no longer in a position to arrest. The former Justice Minister pointed out that there was a provision to appeal a judgment if an institution deemed it unfair. He gave an example of how he adhered to the rule of law on principle while he was AGF and followed due process in a particular case involving former Governor Orji Kalo, even when he had sympathy with the EFCC. He said the issue of the restraining order was about protection and the judiciary, not about an individual. Governor Sheriff Oberewari has condoled with the Gbagi family over the demise of former Minister of the State for Education, Chief Kenneth Gbagi, who passed on yesterday. Chief Gbagi, a senior lawyer, businessman, governorship candidate of the Social Democratic Party, SDP, in the 2023 general elections, and an industrialist, was aged 62. In a statement by his Chief Press Secretary, Sir Festus Ahon, Governor Oberewari described the passing of Chief Gbagi as tragic and heart-wrenching. He commiserated with the people of Ughelli South local government area and Oginibo community in particular over the demise of the renowned politician and former People's Democratic Party, PDP chieftain. The governor prayed God to give the bereaved family fortitude to bear the loss. The Nigerian Postal Service, NIPOS, has clamped down on unlicensed courier operators in Kaduna State. Many offices of the unlicensed courier, express services, delivery, dispatch services, and logistics services were sealed last Thursday by NIPOS during an enforcement exercise headed by the General Manager of the Courier and Logistics Regulatory Department, CLRD, Mr. Shonde Dotu. Speaking with journalists, Mr. Dotu said the activities of the illegal operators are compounding the current security challenges facing the country, as some of them are used by criminal elements to deliver guns and drugs, thereby undermining the security and safety of citizens. He said it has been discovered that most of the unlicensed operators are the ones who engage in illicit activities adding that the NIPOS enforcement team would extend its tentacles to motor parks and garages that engage in the illegality. The general manager of CLRD, NIPOS, disclosed that last year, 500 illegal operators were arrested and prosecuted, adding that so far, over 100 people have been arrested in the ongoing clampdown, which started in Kano State. He called on members of the public to stop patronizing unlicensed couriers, express delivery, dispatch, and logistics operators. Rivers State Governor Siminalayi Fubara has said that the pressure mounted by the political crisis in the state has been weathered, giving way for his administration to provide focused leadership and governance to the people. Mr. Fubara asserted this while playing host to members of the House of Representatives Committee on Public Petitions, led by its chairman, Mike Etaba, who visited him at Government House in Port Harcourt yesterday. This was contained in a statement issued today by the governor's chief press secretary, Mr. Nelson Chukwudi, noting that the governor said that everything is fine in Rivers State. Referring to a movie, The Devil Advocate, which he had watched a long time ago, Governor Fubara explained how the pressure from the unwarranted political crisis served as an enabler to strengthen his commitment to service that is now impacting lives positively, adding that there are no political issues. The President General of the Nigerian Supreme Council for Islamic Affairs, NSCIA, and Sultan of Sokoto, Alhaji Mohammed Saad Abubakar III, has tasked leaders on good governance, saying Nigerians are in a hurry to see positive changes that will renew their hopes. Alhaji Abubakar gave the task yesterday during the 5th anniversary of the 17th Emir of Lafia, Justice Sidi Bagay Muhammad, retired in Lafia, Nasarawa State. He urged Nigerians to prioritize the unity of the country and continue to work towards ensuring it remains one indivisible nation. The Sultan reaffirmed that there were problems in every country, adding that secession was not the solution to the state of insecurity confronting the nation, urged Nigerians to always pray for their leaders to succeed. The Sultan of Sokoto appealed to leaders at all levels to expedite action towards tackling the economic hardship and security challenges bedeviling the country, adding that the people were in a hurry to see positive changes that will renew their hopes for a better life. Earlier, the Sheikh of Borno, Ibn Umar Gabai, appealed to Nigerians to provide credible information about the activities of Boko Haram insurgency, bandits, kidnappers, and other criminal activities in the northeast and in other parts of the country. On his part, Governor Abdullahi Sule of Nasarawa State congratulated the Emir of Lafia, who doubled as chairman of the State Traditional Council on his 5th anniversary on the throne. The governor expressed joy over the support of the Emir and the entire traditional rulers of Lafia Emirate for his administration since 2019. He pledged to redouble his effort towards improving the infrastructure and welfare of the people of the state. Responding, the Emir of Lafia expressed gratitude to God for preserving his life and his people for their support in the last 5 years. He also expressed optimism that the country would remain united. The Assistant Inspector General of Police, AIG, in charge of Zone 16 headquarters in Yenogwa, Bayelsa State, Mr. Paul Omata, has taken action in response to the alleged petition to arrest traders in the ultra-modern Swali market in the state. AIG Omata, who received the leadership of the Igbo traders in his office, also ordered the stop of further arrest of Igbo traders and assured the traders that he would investigate the matter and nip it in the bud. It was observed that the Igbo traders in the Swali market were being arrested as a result of a petition written against the chairman and the entire Igbo traders in the market by the market mistress, Mrs. Mildred Egale, alleging that they protested against her. The chairman of the Igbo traders in the Swali ultramodern market, Mr. Jude Osigwe, told journalists that he was abducted on March 17, 2024 by masked police officers from Zone 16 with a tinted Hilux vehicle, armed without a police uniform and no warrant of arrest when he was asked to enter the vehicle. The police leadership has looked into the matter and stopped the arrest, urging the IPO to do the needful, even as he invited both parties to put lasting solutions to the problems. The Court of Appeal sitting in Abuja has declared illegal regulations 126 and 127 of the Nigerian police, which allows for the dismissal of unmarried police women who become pregnant during their service. The three-man panel of the court also asked the respondents, the Attorney General of the Federation, the Police Service Commission, and the Nigerian Police Force to carry out a comprehensive review of the entire police regulations to ensure that they accord with the demands of a modern society operating under the rule of law. Justice Olubunmi Oyewole read the lead judgment, which was unanimously adopted by the other members of the panel, Justice Bukola Banjoko and Justice Okon Abang. The court gave the judgment in the suit filed by the appellants, the incorporated trustees of the Nigeria Bar Association, against the three respondents. The legal battle began on February 15, 2021, when the Nigerian Bar Association filed an originating summons challenging the discriminatory practices within the Nigerian police force. After taking the arguments, Justice Inyang Ekwo of the Federal High Court, Abuja, delivered his judgment on February 21, 2022, where he dismissed the appellant's action for lacking merit. In the judgment, the Court of Appeal unanimously allowed the appeal, overturning the Federal High Court's decision in favor of the NBA. The court held that regulations 126 and 127 of the Police Act interfered with the privacy of the lives of female police officers and discriminated against them based on their gender. The Anambra State High Court, sitting in the Onitsha area of the state, has sentenced a former manager with Frost City Monument Bank, FCMB, Onitsha branch, Mr. Nwachukwu Placidos, to a cumulative 121 years imprisonment for diverting fixed deposit funds of a customer to the tune of 112 million naira 100,000 for his personal use. The presiding judge, Justice S.N. Odili, sentenced Placidos to jail on Friday, May 3, 2024. The former FCMB manager was arraigned on 16-count charges bordering on forgery, stealing, obtaining by false pretense, and uttering by the Enugu Zonal Command of the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, EFCC, on March 27, 2018. Mr. Placidos, according to a statement issued by the EFCC spokesperson, Mr. Dele Oyewole, on Saturday, May 4, pleaded not guilty to the charges when they were read to him, setting the stage for his trial. In the course of his trial, the EFCC, through its counsel, Main Force Adaka Ekwo, presented 4 witnesses and tendered several relevant documents which were admitted in evidence. In his judgment, Justice Odili said that the prosecution proved its case beyond reasonable doubt and sentenced Mr. Placidos to 9 years imprisonment on count 3, 4 years on count 4, and 9 years on counts 5 to 16, respectively, but was discharged on counts 1 and 2. The judge added that the sentences will run concurrently while ordering the convict to restitute 112 million naira to his victim, Idemili Microfinance Bank. In a related development, the Anambra State Police Command says it has arrested 7 suspects for cultism and armed robbery. This was disclosed in a press statement issued by the command spokesman, Superintendent Tochukwu Ikenga, yesterday, saying that it also recovered a quarter-sized double-barrel gun, 1 tricycle without a registration number, and some hard drugs. SP Ikenga said police operatives were on a manhunt for one Makwa Muso, also known as Baby, and another person still on the run. He added that policemen attached to the Special Anti-Call Squad while on patrol at Unizik Junction in Oka intercepted all males and 5 occupants of a tricycle, including the tricycle driver. He said on 3rd of April 2024 at 10 p.m., the State Police Command arrested 7 suspected cultists and armed robbers, recovered a cut-to-size double-barrel gun, 1 tricycle without a registration number, and some hard drugs. The suspects include Chukwuemeka Ozoekwe, age 18 years old, Chidozie Anago, age 18 years, Chukwuemeka Onyeoka, aged 18 years, Ebuka Okoye, 17 years, Olisobi, 19 years, Chidubem Nwankwo, 20 years, and Nwankwo Kosi Sochukwu, all males. While Makwa Nwosu, male, aka Baby, and 1 other person whose name is yet to be identified are wanted. He added that the occupants took to their heels while the others escaped, and Chukwuemeka Ozoekwe was arrested and later led the police to their criminal hideout, where Chidozie Anago, aged 18 years, and Chukwuemeka Onyeoka, aged 18 years, were arrested, while the remaining 2 are still at large. Meanwhile, during the raid operation in the harbor, the operatives arrested Ebuka Okoye, 17 years, Olisobi, 19 years, Chidubem Nwankwo, 20 years, and Nwankwo Kosi Sochukwu. Men of the Lagos State Police Command have arrested 2 fraud suspects, Sheyi Demola, 26, and Wale Lawson, 27, who allegedly specialize in defrauding members of the public. Police spokesperson in the state, Superintendent Benjamin Hundeyin, confirmed the arrest in a post he shared on his X handle yesterday. He said that the suspects were arrested yesterday by officers from Isokoko Division of the command following a distress call. According to him, preliminary investigation reveals that many people have fallen victims to their scheme. Meanwhile, now the news continues. The global scene is next as we join our world news desk.
Russia has placed the president of Ukraine, Mr. Volodymyr Zelensky, on its wanted list. The Russian Interior Ministry database showed Mr. Zelensky was on a wanted list but gave no further details. This was as Russia opened a criminal case against the Ukrainian president. Responding, Ukraine dismissed the reports, which it described as evidence of Moscow's desperation. Ukraine's foreign ministry said Russian President Vladimir Putin was himself subject to arrest under an international criminal court warrant. According to the ministry, the Russian announcement was evidence of the desperation of the Russian state machine and propaganda, which could thought of no other way to attract attention. In February 2022, Russia had issued arrest warrants for a number of Ukrainian and other European politicians. Russian police in February put Estonian Prime Minister Kaja Kallas, Lithuania's culture minister, and members of the previous Latvian parliament on a wanted list for destroying Soviet-era monuments. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has said Israel will not accept Hamas' demands for Israel to end the Gaza war. It comes as negotiators were resuming talks in Egypt to broker a pause in Israel's Gaza offensive in return for the release of hostages taken by Hamas. The main sticking point appears to be if the truce will be permanent, as Hamas insists or not. Mr. Netanyahu said the proposed deal would keep Hamas in control of Gaza, posing a threat to Israel. It is thought the wording being discussed in the Cairo talks involves a 40-day pause in fighting while hostages are released, and the release of a number of Palestinian prisoners being held in Israel's jails. An advisor to the Hamas leader, Ismail Haniyeh, said the group was looking at the latest proposal with full seriousness. He repeated a demand that any deal would have to explicitly include an Israel withdrawal from Gaza and complete end to the war. Speaking today, Mr. Netanyahu said Israel were not ready to accept a situation in which the Hamas battalions would come out of their bunkers, take control of Gaza again, rebuild their military infrastructure, and return to threatening the citizens of Israel and the surrounding communities in the cities of the south in all parts of the country, adding Israel would not agree to Hamas demands. The Kenya Interior Ministry has said the number of people killed by flooding and other impacts of flooding was expected in low-lying areas, riparian areas and urban areas, while landslides and mudslides might occur in areas with steep slopes, while 212,630 have been displaced.
Back home and in business, let's now join our business news desk for happenings in the business sector.
A global multi-institutional collaboration, including the World Bank, the Food and Agriculture Organization of the United Nations, and the International Fund for Agricultural Development, is strategizing to deploy $500 million fund to bridge agriculture data gap. These institutions are working with the Agroclimatic Resilience in Semi-Arid Landscapes, which is an agency of the federal government supported by the World Bank, with a mandate to manage environmental, agriculture, and water resources. It is expected that in the next 10 years, through an internationally conceived 50 times 2030 initiative, the global collaboration will be committing the $500 million fund to data gathering to stop agricultural production without solid information base. Expected gains from the 50 times 2030 initiative, according to a source at the agency, include increased agricultural productivity, enhanced livelihoods, and development of informed, smart, and virile agricultural policies. The program aims to build capacity to enable data-driven policies and decision-making. The partnership, through the 50 times 2030 initiative, is also expected to directly impact 50 countries in Africa, Asia, the Middle East, and Latin America by 2030. In Nigeria, the mandate for implementing the 50 times 2030 initiative is the Agroclimatic Resilience in Semi-Arid Landscapes project. Through the agency, the federal government strategizes checking the menace of desertification, restoring degraded lands, developing special ecosystems, and catalyzing sustainable agricultural production in Nigeria's 19 northern states, as well as the FCT Abuja. The initiative will help achieve food security, sustainability, and climate change by building stronger national agricultural data systems. A further hike in monetary policy rates by the Central Bank of Nigeria (CBN) in the second half of the year has been projected. This was disclosed in the global credit ratings agency Fitch Ratings released credit outlook for Nigeria, where the country's sovereign credit default outlook was raised from stable to positive on the back of recent reforms in the monetary policy and oil and gas sector. According to the report, the hike in interest rates in the first quarter of the year has seen the Apex Bank carry out open market operations at rates closer to the MPR. The agency also projected that inflation, the major target of the MPR hike by the CBN, is expected to moderate to 26.3% later this year and 18.2% by next year. The Central Bank of Nigeria (CBN) in its first Monetary Policy Committee (MPC) meetings in 2024 raised MPR by a record 400 and 200 basis points to $24.75 0.5%. The bank noted that the aim of the hike is to tame inflation and bring stability to the volatile foreign exchange market. Inflation in the past months has, however, defied the policy moves of the apex banks, rising from 90% in January to 33.2% as of March 2024. More worrisome is food inflation, which currently stands at 40.01% in March 2024. The hike in MPRO has seen increased appetite for federal government and CBN securities, especially from foreign portfolio investors, as yields have risen above 20%. The Apex Bank will hold in its Monetary Policy Committee MPC meeting on the 20th and 21st of May 2024, where it reviewed events in the global economy and Nigeria's to decide to reduce, hold, or further increase MPR. The Global Credit Ratings Agency Fitch has established that approximately 30% of Nigeria's external reserves are constituted by foreign exchange bank swaps. The disclosure underscores ongoing uncertainties regarding the country's net foreign exchange reserves, exacerbated by opaque entries amounting to nearly $32 billion in foreign exchange forwards, over-the-counter futures, and currency swaps listed as off-balance sheet commitments in the Central Bank of Nigeria CBN Consolidated Financial Statement for 2022. In its latest credit outlook for the country, Fitch noted that the lack of clarity over the precise size and composition of Nigeria's foreign exchange reserves remains a significant constraint on the nation's sovereign credit profile. Despite these concerns, Fitch anticipated that most of the foreign exchange bank swaps will continue to be rolled over, which could provide some temporary stability in the reserves management.
Away from business now to sports. It was an exciting time for Team Nigeria athletes in their World Relays outing in the Bahamas as they punched their Olympic ticket in the mixed 4x400 meters relay in their return to the championships after a 5-year hiatus. The quartet of Samuel Ogazi, Ella Onojuewo, Chidi Okezie, and Esther Joseph competed in the second heat, which included the reigning world champions USA, Bahrain, and South Africa. Ogazi ran a tactical race despite overcoming a sluggish start to hand the baton in second place to Onojuewo, who went neck and neck with USA's Lena I.B. Jackson throughout the course of her race. Then over to the reigning African Games 400 meters champion, Okezie, who overtook the lead from USA after going past Ryan Wiley in the bend with fastest overall split of 44.78 seconds. Joseph held on to the lead achieved by her teammate up until the first 100 meters, where Kendall Ellis geared through to retake the lead, bringing the stick round in a championship's record of 3 minutes, 11.52 seconds, while Team Nigeria placed second with a time of 3 minutes, 13.79 seconds, which automatically sealed their spot at the Olympics for the second consecutive time. South Africa was third, while Bahrain did not finish. Team Nigeria will return on day 2 with the hopes of winning a medal in the finals. Still in sports, English Premier League giants Chelsea have initiated talks with Napoli as they set their sights on securing the signature of Nigerian striker Victor Osimhen ahead of the upcoming summer transfer window. According to reports, Chelsea is prepared to make a significant financial commitment to secure Osimhen's services for the next season. The proposed offer discussed between the two clubs is believed to be in the range of 80 to 90 million pounds. Chelsea is also reportedly willing to include Romelu Lukaku, currently on loan at Roma, at pounds, and offer the striker a lucrative 4-year contract worth £13 million per season. Also, Chelsea's financial constraints and the need to adhere to the Premier League's profit and sustainability regulations may pose significant challenges, as these regulatory constraints could potentially force Chelsea to reconsider their involvement in the race for the highly sought-after striker. And now to our thought for the day. Forgiveness is an attribute of the strong because it is not a feeling but a decision. And that's how we conclude the 8 o'clock news of the Delta Television, the People's Pride. My name is Princess Modi. Thank you so much for being with us throughout the beginning and now to the end of the news. Do have a blissful night rest. Good evening.